What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host.
With the most, your boy Modd.
Yes, with the most. The following is going to be an interview with someone that was very awesome to interview. Yeah. And his work is probably best known in Glass Casket and probably Columns, but this man was a workhorse, and he is now in his band, Holyroller.
Great band.
So the following is an interview with Adam Cody. Hope you guys enjoy.
Glad to have you on, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I was pretty stoked when I went and listened to the catalog, you know, your resume there, and I was like, man, this guy worked, like he did a bit for us, like hell yeah. I'm sure Jay will bring that up at some point. Yeah, Jay?
Yeah, for sure.
But
let me see if I can get into these settings real quick and change this, because I don't like that it's doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a personal thing on everybody's individual end, but
let's see, video.
Only done a couple of the Zoom calls. Bye, Adam. There you are.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could figure it out on
Here, let's
my...
see, team chat. There's so many settings. It's like, geez, man.
I know.
Let's see. I don't know.
And I'm pretty phone illiterate.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, we can see you, but
yeah.
It's just weird that it jumps back and forth for you. It seems like it wasn't doing that before.
So you're also a producer. You got to be pretty savvy with the tech, right?
I wouldn't call myself a producer, honestly. Like I can record myself.
Okay.
And I make demos, but I leave the actual producing to the real guys like Jamie King and Kyle Odell and stuff.
All right, man. So we'll get started here. Is it still jumping back and forth? Because I put it on. I thought I clicked a button. If not, I guess we'll just have to deal with that, brother.
Oh, I figured it out.
Okay. Hell yeah. Nice. It was on your end. Perfect.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome, dude.
Cool.
All right. So welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on, bro. Really fucking appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, we were in a band called Infinite Design, and you did a track for us. The album came out in 2013. It was on our album Fragments.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. The track was called The Out Within, and you fucking killed that. And
thanks, man.
So we got a little bit of history, and I've always been a fan of yours. Just real quick, I remember going to the store, and my buddy was like, "Get these 2 CDs," and it was Black Dahlia Murder, Unhallowed, and Glass Casket. We Are Gathered Here Today.
Nice,
and when I fucking bought those albums, my life changed. I was like,
for real.
Hell yeah, man.
Everything about metal was like, I was like, wow, a whole new world. And fucking to be able to talk to you today, it's really fucking cool, man, and I appreciate it.
Full circle.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, that means the world to me. You know, like, I mean, every musician, that's all you want to hear. You know, is you made an impact on somebody.
Yeah, you know what's
That's
crazy?
Badass.
You know what's wild is there's so much new music that comes out now. It's so hard to even keep up with, right? And I still put on that album all the time. I mean, I love the other Glass Casket stuff, and we'll get into that. But I still just always put on that album because I fucking love it so much, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Right.
That was an intense album, man. That was a hard time in life. You know, we were all in high school and just going through natural growing pains, I guess, you know. Just I guess at the time, you know, me and Dusty were best friends. That's the guitarist. And we had basically grown up together, and we started a couple bands before that were little kind of garage bands, and released a couple EPs and this and that. And then we kind of got into high school and bumped into Blake Richardson. I think that's where the trajectory kind of changed for the bands, because our previous drummer, Sanjay, was awesome. He was the guy me and Dusty played with in the band before that called Gadril. And I'm sorry, the band before that called Narayan. And he was a great drummer, but he was more interested in school and other things in life. And we met Blake, and he was just this prog drummer. You know, he didn't really care about metal so much, I don't think, at that point. But he loved Dream Theater. And then his brother was really into hardcore, so he was kind of getting into Prayer for Cleansing and some of those East Coast hardcore, metalcore kind of bands.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we bumped into him, is right where we were all getting into hardcore, and me and Dusty were kind of more into death metal and Pantera and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then we all kind of just found a love of just extreme music or whatever, gave it a go.
Yeah.
Worked out.
So tell me a little bit, let's just kind of start back from the beginning, if you don't mind, man. How did you get into metal, like metal and then extreme metal? I'm always interested in people's stories, you know, their trajectory. It always kind of starts off with, you know, maybe the Aussies and then it builds. But I'd like to hear how you've kind of become the metal guy you are today. And then.
Yeah, man. Really, I think my introduction was punk rock. I was a skater, you know, I love skateboarding. And as soon as I found skateboarding, you know, the music and stickers and the patches and all the kind of stuff that comes along with it, I just became a detective. You know, I saw a patch or a sticker that was cool, and I was like, who is this band? Who's Pennywise? Pennywise I saw everywhere, that P with a Y through it sticker.
All right.
And I was, who the fuck is this? And you know, I got one of their albums, and I think that was probably the first like album I went and got on my own, was one of the earlier Pennywise albums. I can't remember which one, but from there I quickly got into all the Punkorama albums and the Epitaph roster and Sex Pistols, and I think it had something to do with a girl that I met at the time too, was really into Sid Vicious, and I was like, well, I want to be like that. So I kind of got my start pretty young into kind of underground music, I guess. And not long after, maybe a year after that, I found Sepultura.
Ooh.
And I got into Cannibal Corpse and Sepultura kind of simultaneously. And that was my very first introduction into like real extreme death metal and stuff like that.
It's quite a leap from punk.
I know, like most of my friends were born and bred on Metallica and Megadeth.
Sure.
And I honestly was more into Pantera as far as the thrash bands go.
Right.
I mean, of course I have a big love for Metallica. I'm not a huge Megadeth fan, but
I won't tell Dave, you're safe.
Yeah, Dave wouldn't be happy to hear that, Adam.
It's just I was attracted to the vocals of everything, and that's just something Megadeth doesn't check for me.
No, I get it. You being the vocalist you are, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a great singer either. I'm still finding my ways and singing, and so I understand the struggle. But yeah, I was more attracted to Phil Anselmo's style and the extremity of Pantera, because it was like brutal thrash metal, you know, and groovy.
Oh, groove
I think
all
the
day.
groove was
what
really good. Like Cannibal Corpse, all these bands, the groove is what got me the most, I think.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear, because some of that grind and some of those extreme beats they kind of hurt after a while over in this department, you know, but the groove is what really sells me. And yeah, when you say that really resonates, because I can only do that blast and grind for like a hot second, and then I'm like, bring back that breakdown, because that was the part that I really liked.
I mean, I love the grind too. You know, I've been in a couple grind projects, and Columns was a band I played with for a long time.
We'll talk a little bit about that too. I got your whole
cool.
I got your whole outline over here for you. We did some I did some serious research on this. Well, you know what,
we know more than I do.
Well, we research. I spend the time to research, you know, the guest or whatever, and then I want to, you know, I'm curious about them and their journey. But then when I got into your whole
The whole resume.
Yeah, the whole resume. I'm just like, Jesus, dude, there's a whole lot to take in here. And it turned into like this, usual maybe 60 minutes into like a 3-hour journey down the Adam Cody rabbit hole.
He sent me down it too. He said, this is more than your average workload.
Yeah.
So this guy's been doing it.
For over, I think because I've been a pothead my whole life. And, I just always felt like, people look down on me for being a musician, first of all, and being a pothead, second of all. I just felt like, man, I really have to try everything. And there's a point in my life where I was just trying to put out as much material as I could. I had a very negative point of view as a young person. I didn't really think I'd be here today, so I was kind of like, let me get out as much of this as I can before it's all over. It was, in reality, that was kind of what I was thinking, and I'm just really glad, my train of thought has changed since then.
Yeah, that happens with maturation, right? And we only get so much time on this earth, so why not do what you love to do too? Man, shit, and it goes by fast, dude.
It does. It really
goes
does.
by
I don't
fast.
regret any of that, but I am happy that, now I'm just having fun. I'm putting out the music I want to put out, and it's not like a race,
Yeah.
To your point, though, society does have a way of kind of looking down on those two things, even especially the artist community now, right? Like, it's just commoditized. You just expect it for free, like in your inbox every day. You got AI art, and nobody cares about artists or musicians. It's more acceptable to be a pothead now.
Yeah.
Go to the fucking head shop and buy a bag. It's like normal, Yeah. So, but you're an artist. God, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
It's like you're asking for a handout. I see bands like a Legion. Is one of those bands that kind of went through a phase where they
needed money.
Patreon.
Yeah, they needed money.
Yeah. And I saw them get so much hate, and I felt so bad for them because they worked really hard.
They're such great musicians, dude.
Yeah, they're great musicians, and like
when you're that good, you would expect to maybe get paid for being that good at something. And
or at least like working hard at it. They weren't like just sitting back. They were out there touring and giving up their lives to do it. And people just acted like they were the spoiled brats for wanting to be paid for it. But I think they did it in kind of the wrong way. But they weren't wrong.
Sure.
I mean, just my opinion. Like, because like you said, like everything is free. I mean, nobody expects to pay for music or art or anything like that.
It's like you said, it's either a handout or somebody's being charitable by buying your art. Like, fuck, thanks.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's really a game of selling T-shirts and
And then at the end of the day, what we always say is like, the reason why we do this podcast, we do it for the love, man. We love metal, so we love talking to dudes that are in metal. Like, you gotta love it. You put the love first, and maybe some of that financial gain will come in the long run, but as long as you love it, you're going to enjoy it. Yeah, it can be tedious and work sometimes, and fuck, man, I played a show last night. I'm tired of shit, and we hauled a bunch of equipment. That's not the fun part, but, like, being on stage, sharing our art, and, being able to talk to other artists and just building the community that we have, that's, you got to do it for that, too,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're in music, that should be your mind frame. Like, I mean, you should want to be paid and, do everything you can to make a living if that's your goal. But ultimately, it's a hobby for, I think, 90% of people,
Yeah.
Agreed.
Which, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I know, and it's a young man's game. You got to have like a certain mindset when you're a young man to get on the road and really grind it out, because now that we're in our low 40s, we're not getting in no fucking van with 4 other dudes and eating a ham on hand sandwich. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, we got beds. I'm not, fuck that. Like,
yeah.
I kind of missed that window. And then, at 19, I was in a lot of substances myself, so I wasn't in the right mindset to figure out the financials to get in a van, to get on the road, to get good equipment, to book a show. You know what I mean?
Make
you
the
gotta
connections.
you got to surround yourself with smart people too. That can also do those things. And so I commend anybody that does do that. So let's go over a little bit of your history, if you don't mind, brother.
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah. So I know you had mentioned it's Narayan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that says around 2001. I actually found it online.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, I think Jamie King, the guy that has recorded all of the Glass Casket albums.
Oh yeah. And the BT Bam stuff.
And BT Bam and the Contortionist, and
he mastered a few of our records.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the man.
Yeah.
I think people know him as just a really laid back guy that will help you out and not take advantage of you. So I think he's got a good reputation. But yeah, he's got all of those recordings, and I've actually been talking to a guy named Matthew Reeves, who has a label called Force of Reckoning Records, and he's been releasing all this kind of classic North Carolina hardcore from that era, like the early 2000s. And he's been talking to us about releasing the Narayan album on vinyl. And I don't know if the rest of the guys in the band are so excited about that, because it's, we were all 15 when we recorded it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's raw. I can hear the Glass Casket styling starting to come through in there. Like I hear the style coming through, right? And so that was you and Dusty. You said Blake wasn't a part of that?
Blake Richardson, the drummer, was not.
Okay. That he comes in on guardrail then?
Yeah, on Gadro.
Okay. A Gadro? Okay. That's how you say that.
Yeah. But Blake, Ian Blake Tootin, the guitarist on on both Glass Casket records, he is also in the band too. So it's me, Dusty, and Blake Tootin.
Okay.
And then Sanjay Chan was the drummer of that band, and John Weston was the bass player.
Okay.
And we and there's two vocalists, Andre Clark. I almost forgot.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Andre Clark was one of my best buddies in high school. He was a few years older, and he would buy me and Dusty cigarettes and beer.
Great friend.
Yeah, he was the friend that my parents were like, "Oh yeah, Andre's so nice. You do whatever the fuck you want. You guys can go stay out all weekend or whatever." And really, Andre Clark took me to some of my first shows, and got me kind of interested in the music. And he knew that me and Dusty had been starting a new band, and or just started playing as a band. And I was the vocalist of the band, and Andre kind of showed up one day and was like, "I think I kind of want to be the vocalist of the band."
Great.
So we became a 2 vocalists band, and it was interesting. We're just having fun being kids, getting fucked up, playing shows on the weekend. And then I think slowly Andre got a little less interested in music, and the drummer of the band, I think, was going to college at that point. And so me and Dusty and Blake Tootin met Blake Richardson through his brother.
Okay.
His older brother came to our old band's shows, and he was like, "Hey, I heard you need a drummer, and my brother is awesome and would fit really well." And that's kind of how Glass Casket really first started.
Okay.
Was out of that.
And then Glass Casket, that basically started as Gadroll then?
Yeah.
It kind of formed from that into there?
Yeah, it's basically the same band. We just put out a 6-song EP, and then we got signed to a label. And I can't remember if the label made us change the name or we just decided to change the name.
What was the impetus, or excuse me, if it was just a label, then what was the idea behind the name Glass Casket? Who came up with that, and what's the You know, what's that represent to y'all?
You know,
It's a badass fucking name. I
Yeah,
fucking
it's
love
cool.
it. So I'm just kind of like, I mean, as it is, two words smashed together, it works. But I'm wondering if there's a little more story to it.
there's a little bit of story, but it's really a lot less interesting than you'd think. Like, the name is really cool.
Yeah,
but,
Yeah.
but I think it was, I might be mistaken, but I think it was our friend Dan Marsh. He and I were also in another band recently together, but he was a guy in our local scene that I could be wrong, but I think he was the one who said it would just be cool because he got it from Snow White.
Oh,
And
all right.
yeah, so the glass casket that Snow White is in,
Yep.
the
okay.
story. I believe he was just said, wouldn't it be cool if you named your band Glass Casket? We stuck with that, I think.
Yeah.
It would be, and I am. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be wrong if it was not Dan, but it was somebody in our close circle that just kind of figured out.
That's fucking cool. So that was like To Cherish a Falsity EP, because that's actually online. I found that too. So like Fisted and Forgotten, Chew Your Fingers. It's kind of almost like a demo version of some of those that turned into some of the songs that are on We Are Gathered Here Today. Like Decadence that turned into something as well. It kind of sounded like right.
I can't remember which one Decadence is.
It has some riffs that are some of the riffs that are on one of the songs on We Are Gathered Here Today. So it kind of sounded like you guys put some stuff out. Then you must have got signed, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing. And then when you put out We Are Gathered Here Today in 2004, then kind of sounds like, you know, when you kind of put the polish on the songs, change this, do this, you know, maybe this will sound better. Then you guys put this record out. And
that's exactly what it was.
Okay, cool. And I can't say enough good things about this record. Like I already stated, I still love it. Came out in 2004 and it still holds up. It's a fucking blaster. I got a few questions about this if you don't mind.
Sure.
In Between Sheets, so there's some clean vocals on that, you know, where you say it's a chorus with no melody. Was that you singing on that?
No, that's our bass player, Sid Menon.
Okay. I was just wondering about that because that, you know, it's towards the end of the record, but that particular vocal always stood out to me at the end, and I was just wondering what the choice was. Because you know about that time, about 2004, 2005, there was a lot of clean vocals and stuff going on, but they weren't necessarily good clean vocals. Right?
Yeah.
They were like kind of weird and out of key, emo-ish, like whatever you want to call that era, but it was just like people were singing and they probably shouldn't have. On that particular vocal, it was an awesome vocal, like, and I was just wondering what the idea just to throw that one in there and then not really play on that anymore. Do you have a recollection of that, or?
Well, I guess I should start by saying our bass player Sid came from several indie rock bands. The Yearling was his kind of main project, and there's another one before that I used to go see when Narayan was playing. Actually, we played shows together, and he was awesome, really talented, but it was very, you know, poppy, very Jimmy Eat World kind of sounding stuff.
Yep.
And we all liked it, but we all kind of agreed that this band was a metal band, and you know, we wanted to be very extreme and all that. So I really do not remember if there was a conscious decision to put that part in there. I think it just kind of came up and worked. But I really don't think we had any kind of like, I don't think we made any effort to not do that again. I think it just kind of was the only point in the record that it would work. And I think Sid just laid it on and just worked really well.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I really like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, you're good. I was just trying to remember all this, you know, because it's been so long. I was in such a shitty place.
It's been 45 minutes ago for me. What are you talking about?
So, if you don't mind, and then, you know, A Gray AM That You'll Never Get to See. It sounds like it's a very personal song to maybe you or someone in the band. Do you mind speaking a little bit on that? And, you know, just the ending of, like I said, I love the record. Then the ending just goes into this emotional, like, it's just like very, like, there's this turmoil that's all built up and it just kind of crescendos at the end. And, you know, it makes the actual record memorable, but it sounds very, very personal. Is that something that you would like to speak on or can speak on, or?
Yeah, that's totally fine, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty open book, and most people know me at this point well enough to know that's about my sister.
Okay.
She committed suicide
Oh, okay.
that same year.
Oh,
And so she was 20. And I think I was 16 or 17. And she had been attempting for a long time. She tried 5 or 6 times to take her life. And, it was really difficult when it happened and really threw me for a loop. I just uh, became very depressed myself. And I was getting to that age where all those hormones and emotions are really starting to kick in. So yeah, she committed suicide, and it really rocked my world a bit. And I think I had a relationship that kind of went south at the very same time, and I just kind of dove into popping pills, and that is kind of what led to the second record, which is, I don't know if you can tell it or not, but the second one is much more focused on how unhappy I was.
Hmm.
And the first record was a little more um, of just like extreme emotion coming out at once, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you for sharing that, dude. I appreciate that, and I'm sorry to
Yeah.
hear that. But I think you put a good, marker on the song with that, and really kind of got it out there. So then we move into A Desperate Man's Diary in 2006. And I was going to mention that, like, Name Above All Names, it kind of seems to be a really personal and kind of refers back to your sister again in that song, it seems like, with, just kind of keeping with that theme of getting those emotions out. I do notice the whole album itself is more melodic and more technical. I also know that, like, I mean, Dusty kind of joined BT Bam in 2005, right? So it was kind of a weird, like, thing along that lines, because obviously when you start playing with those guys, everything becomes a little more technical, because that's what those guys are, just the fucking utmost technical, so it just opens with those sweeps and everything, and that was a little bit further beyond like kind of the hardcore grind stuff that the first album was on, but also a great record. I mean, I love the record as well. You guys did a good job with that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was definitely Dusty. Dusty was definitely growing. Him and Blake were really growing musically, and BT Bam had been kind of courting them for a couple years before that. Like, I think they had asked Blake to join the band when he was still in high school, and he was like, "No, I kind of want to focus on this band I started and finish school." I think Blake he was unsure if he was going to go to school, and because he was a very smart guy and had a bright future ahead of him regardless of music. So I think he, in the back of his head, was kind of debating whether, like, what he was going to do. I don't know this for a fact, um, but I do know that they had asked him a couple times to join the band or at least fill in for him, and he kind of turned them down. And right after I think we put out the second album, half of our band was going to college. Like Blake Tootin was going to college. Sid was focusing on school. I think myself and Dusty both had planned from an early age that music was kind of our only way we wanted to go. But I don't know that Dusty was sure that I was going to do that or not, because shortly after that, Blake filled in, I think, for a tour. And then the next tour, Dusty filled in. And, they were just in the band after that. But so it was a weird point in my life, because I was in a community college at the time, but I was just doing it because we didn't have tours lined up and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was also highly under the influence of a lot of Xanax. That was kind of my drug of choice back then, was tons of Xanax. And
Chill mode. Chill
yeah,
mode.
it was a bad point in life and all that.
It's
but
a rough time at that age, no matter who you are. But I mean,
yeah,
given your story, like it makes sense.
So that kind of led to, must have been, once those guys got into BT Bam, that was kind of must have led to the hiatus of Glass Casket. And I want to come back because I do want to talk about this new EP, but I kind of want to go in chronological order if you don't mind. So we're going to kind of skip over the new EP, but I definitely need to come back and throw some flowers at you and on that for sure. Like,
great. Thanks, man.
So we'll definitely get around to that. And I definitely, I want to go through all this because I want to talk about what you're doing now. Holyroller, obviously, too. And to me, that was like a kind of a big eye-opening surprise, but we'll get to that because I would love to tell you a little bit about how I feel about that, too, if you don't mind.
You're going to hear what I have to feel about that.
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
So... All right, so that we talked about that album came out in 2006. Those guys, it kind of seemed like they went and joined BT Bam for the most part, right? I mean, it kind of was one of those things. And then so Glass Casket after 2006, even though people in the metal world were yearning for it, it kind of disappeared. And then, so as I'm looking at your resume here, your long list of stuff, so Zero System in 2009, you had the self-titled EP in 2009, and then like Meridian in 2010. I'm assuming you were on both of those, right? Were you on both of those, or were you only on the Meridian full length? I can't remember.
I did 2 EPs with them.
Okay. Okay.
And then a full length called The History of Saints.
Okay. So was that kind of like your next project? That was the thing you went on to next? Because to me, it was kind of more like almost metalcore, like kick-ass metal, Yeah,
well, I actually went to Columns straight after Glass Casket.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Columns actually played a few shows with Glass Casket before Glass Casket dissipated.
Okay.
Were you doing double duty at that time?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did a couple double duty shows, and I was really Glass Casket was slowing down, but not quite stopped yet. And I think right in that time period, I met Jason Skipper, the drummer, and Jake Troth, the original guitarist. Because the original guitarist, that's what happened. Okay, I'm sorry. Glass Casket, we had some reunion shows or some just random one-off shows after we had kind of gone on a hiatus. Maybe a year or 2 later, not too long later. And we got this guy, Jake Troth, to come play guitar for us for one of these shows. I think this is about 2006. And because Glass Casket played a show with Between the Buried and Me on Halloween, and we got Jake Troth to play the show. And from that, Jake mentioned that he had a grind band called Monuments, I think.
Okay.
And he was just asked if I'd be interested in jamming with them. They're from Charlotte, which is not too far from where I live. And I said, sure. And I think I went down shortly after that. We practiced and then put out a 3-song demo maybe 6 months later. And let's see. So we put out a short demo. We played around a little bit. We did a very small amount of weekend tours and stuff like that. And we got picked up by Relapse Records for one full length that I don't remember when it came out. I think 2009 or 2008.
Okay.
But yeah, we put out one full length record on Relapse
for Columns, right?
With Columns.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that led in because Columns, our guitar player, moved to a different city around 2008 or 9. Right as soon as we put the album out, he moved to a different city, and I think that's about the time I got into Zero System.
Okay, because when I was kind of going through, the resume, Columns, nothing popped up for me until 2014. That's when Please Explode came out. Was that true, or
Well,
that was just the date on it? Because I couldn't find anything earlier than Columns than 2014, at least when I was looking.
Metal Archives lists Just Another Species at 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, that does make sense. I'm probably off a little bit here because
Memory lane here. We got you, bro.
We got you.
I know. I want to say that we had all the music for the full-length album because half of it is on Please Explode.
Okay.
And then we put out Please Explode through Relapse. That's right, a little later because I was playing with Wretched at that point in time. And The Swamp.
Okay.
Staying busy.
So yeah, no, and it's hard to probably keep all these things straight, huh, man? So many things going on.
Yeah, it was literally just anytime somebody said, "You want to be in a band? You want to join a band?" Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Sweet.
So you did a little bit with Zero System. Anything like any tours or anything? You were on a couple of their albums. You were kind of doing Columns in that era, but that kind of wasn't long lived. I see.
Yeah, that was a really cool band. I had a lot of fun with them. Really cool guys. It was just I want to say going into it, it was not 100% the style of metal that I was wanting to do. I was a little more into the more extreme stuff.
Yeah,
and
makes total sense.
But the guys in the band were awesome, and we wrote so much music in a short amount of time. And Kyle Odell was the guitarist. He used to be in Bludgeon, and I think he was in Kill Whitney Dead for a little while.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, but he's still a really awesome producer. He does a whole bunch of stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, he produced all the music, so we were literally spend almost all of our time recording songs, and that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to record. So I got involved. Oh, I'm skipping bands here too. Anything on Fire happened after Columns, but before Zero System.
Okay.
That band just put out one EP, and our drummer unfortunately passed away in a car accident.
Oh no.
But members of that band went on to also be in Zero System. The bass player and clean singing vocalist of Zero System was also our bass player in Anything on Fire.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's a small stint in a band called Vanisher.
Vanisher is Zero System.
Okay, that makes sense because when I listened to that, the History of Saints in 2010, it says, at least that's what I pulled up. It was still metalcore. There was an album, and then there was like clean vocals, but the bass player did the clean vocals. So I guess that kind of checks out with the whole Zero System thing. That's kind of what I thought, but obviously I had to hear it from you. And
sure.
That
we were Zero System, and I think we had been talking to Roadrunner Records for like a year or more, and they were kind of courting us and kind of guiding us to make a little more melodic music and a little more catchy music. And if I'm being totally honest, that's about the point in time where I was feeling like this is maybe not for me. The songs were becoming just more pure Killswitch Engage radio versions, kind of.
I was literally just going to say they just wanted another Kill Switch, All That Remains, because that's what was popping at that time for sure.
Yeah, and I had fun with the band. It was a cool experience because it was just different style and everything. But I think about the time the music became a little more on the radio rock side. That's about the time I was kind of getting less interested, and that's when I bumped into the guys in Wretched. And actually, Columns had opened a show for Wretched, and I knew who they were, but I hadn't really listened to them very much. And that night was their CD release for their second album, and they had just come back from a tour, several tours, so they were really tight. They were like just fucking spot on tight. Their music was badass, and I remember thinking to myself, like, that's a fucking awesome band.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Steven, like, hey, if you guys ever need a fill-in, let me know. And sure enough, like, their very next tour, their vocalist quit. So it was
move over.
kind of
Move over, butter. Well,
he's a great guy. He's actually back in the band now.
Okay, yeah, I seen they're back active again. So, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's so much music, and even at this time, there's just so much to take in. You know, your attention span goes everywhere. But I heard Adam Cody was in Wretched. So this was the time when I was still going to get CDs. I said, well, I'm going out to get me a Wretched CD. So I bought the Son of Perdition.
Nice.
And fucking banger.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Fucking banger.
I was like, this man doesn't disappoint. I didn't know all the 32 other bands he was in, but goddamn, these one records that
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. That was
fuck, dude. I remember
album.
I was listening to that. I was like, holy shit. It's like, it's very technical, but it's very well done. And one thing I like to say about your vocals on all of the stuff that you've done, and Nick and I talk about this a lot on the show, it's like, dude, you know when to shut the fuck up. And I got a few questions for you once we get through your little resume here. But,
Sure.
you know, or I just bring it up now. You know, nowadays with these vocalists, it's like all these vocal gymnastics. We want to sing over every fucking note of every song. And it just gets monotonous and boring. And I've just noticed through all of your catalog, even the grind stuff, all that, it's like, you know when to let the music shine. I don't know if that's on you or,
Thank you, man.
You know, or that's a part of the band. Like, hey, Adam, kind of, you got to shut up right here, bro. Like, I don't know what that is, but it seems like a conscious decision. Like, hey, we're all in the band, and it's just not me singing over the whole fucking thing. Like, hey, look at my vocals, you know?
No, absolutely, dude. I appreciate you noticing that, because it is something I've tried to make a point to do. And when I was in, especially Glass Casket, there's so many parts that just didn't need it. You know, they're just heavy and don't need the extra vocal. And back then, you know, I wasn't as prepared, so I won't say it was super intentional. I bet that first record was more or less me freestyling the vocal patterns. And, you know, I had a few in my head, but I think most of it was just I had the lyrics, and then we just hit go, and it was kind of like working through it. But from that point on, there were so many parts that people would come up to me and be like, man, that part's so badass. Thanks for not just like obliterating it with like a bunch of noise, you know, like, because I mean, a screaming vocalist is a percussionist, in my opinion. They're not a vocalist. They're there to be an instrument. Because nobody knows what the fuck you're saying. Like,
that's a very good point. Like, you're not being melodic, and let's just be real about it for a minute. A fry vocal, nobody's sitting here and saying, oh, that's I waltz about my day, you know, screaming this fry vocal because that just sticks in my head. No, you're very right. It's percussive. It kind of emphasizes like you know, just some points in the song, but the melodies, the guitar and the bass really in this style of music. So I mean, unless you are bringing the clean vocals, then that is something people are going to sing back to you.
Yeah, that's at least in extreme music where there's like really not much singing vocals.
Right.
To me, it's just all rhythm and percussion. Like,
makes sense. I haven't never considered it that way before, but that is a really poignant statement.
It's just something I've noticed over the years, because, you know, some vocalists, I mean, everybody's got a different style too. And I know nowadays the style is, it's almost like hip hop in the death metal the tech death kind of scene. A lot of those death metal vocals now are so fast, and like, it sounds like rappers, like a chopper spitting really fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that, like Inferi and
Archspire,
some of that's got that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like rap, but I mean, that's what got me into Cannibal Corpse, is just how rhythmic the stuff was in Deicide. Like that line, "Open the door, Jehovah, you whore."
Yeah.
Like, but it's screamed, and it's like, it's brutal. So it's just a whole different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. How do you feel about these vocal gymnastics these days with these guys online and they're doing pterodactyl noises and fucking inverted frogs or whatever the fuck's going on? I don't know. I'm not. I mean, it's cool you can do that, but I just don't. I don't know. I'm an old school guy too, and I might be a little bitchy when I say it, but it's like you got to know your place, man. I don't want to hear your vocal for 5 minutes straight. Like you got to let some of the song breathe because it's one of those things where it's like if you grind all the time, the grind won't be impactful. If you groove all the time, the groove won't be. It's the same with the vocal. It's like, yeah, you can do 37 cool vocals, but if you do them all for 5 minutes for 47 minutes in a row, like it doesn't really impress me at that point. Like you got to pick and choose where you come in, you know? To me, it's almost like if a dude was like, yeah, let's start a metal band. I'm just going to solo from the beginning to the end of the fucking CD. And you're like, why?
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I mean, I do like the trendsetters out there, like Cattle Decapitation.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Travis
I
Ryan
think
is
he's the most talented metal vocalist.
We agree.
Yeah.
We are in like 100% agreement. Jay and I lobby that name quite a bit. Travis Ryan's the man. Will Ramos, another one. But for sure, I think
cool stuff too. But
I think Travis Ryan is like the front runner of metal vocals in the extreme metal community. I think he does interesting, new, different vocal stylings. I think he's doing stuff different than anybody else out there, and there will be like a line of copycats after him learning to do what he's done if they're able to, if they're capable of doing it. But I think Travis Ryan is absolutely the man.
I think he's, if I had to pick one guy that I'm jealous of, him coming up with those ideas to do, like, especially that one vocal that's like, sounds like he's snarling and he's got a real nasally, but he's singing.
Yes.
And it's almost like
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a ghoul or something, or a fucking goblin.
It's melodic, but he also knows how to write patterns. That's the difference. He's not just doing these fucking vocal backflips over the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like they know when to kick in the chorus and let him do that melodic vocal. So it's a little different with him. He can do all those vocals, but he does know when to shut up too. So I do like that. So kind of curtailing this back in, like I just wanted to make that point about you because this Wretched music is like super technical, but there's also parts where it's like there's a lot of music stuff just going on, and Adam, you're just kind of like, well, these guys are probably so fucking good that I'm just going to let them kind of do their thing for a little bit, you know? So
they did have a history at that point of, because they had 2 albums out before I joined, and they always included a large section of instrumental music on there.
Yeah.
So we actually, with Wretched, we did make it a point to continue doing pure instrumental tracks. And honestly, because we would play those live and it'd be right in the middle of the set. So I'd be going crazy for 20 minutes and then we'd get this instrumental break and I couldn't help myself but just to rock the fuck out with them, during that part. And it became one of my favorite parts of the set because I didn't have to say a fucking word except, let's fucking go, throw your horns up, and just rock out with them for like 5-10 minutes.
Sweet.
That's awesome. And then Cannibal comes out, it says like in 2014. I mean, honestly, I didn't really revisit that album or like get around to it until just recently, but man, another outstanding effort. That album fucking is awesome too, dude.
Dude, I gotta listen to it. Honestly, I don't think I've listened to it since we did our last really big tour run in like 2014.
Well, you should. It's really good.
Do you find it?
I remember it being a fun album to make.
Do you find it difficult to listen to your own music back to you after a point in time, Adam?
After so many years, like, I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I record something, I listen to the shit out of it.
Okay.
And basically just picking apart what I did wrong. But after about 6 months, I put it aside and I never listened to it again.
Are you also able to enjoy it from just a fan point of view, like just enjoy your art, like as if you were listening to Cannibal Corpse or Cattle Decap? Are you able to just kind of sit back and say, yeah, these are my peers and I sound similar to them and I'm cool with that? Or is it strictly like just you analyzing yourself and saying, nope, got to be better, do this, don't do that?
I've been putting since Glass Casket's been reactivated a little bit and everything in the last few years, I have a playlist of metal. It's basically my only metal playlist, and I listen to it when I work out. Basically only when I work out, because I work out a lot now.
Good.
So that's kind of my jam, and that's when I listen to my metal. The rest of the time I have a different playlist with just everything, metal included. But I've been putting some Glass Casket stuff into that playlist, and I just have it on shuffle. So when the songs come on, I do try to listen to it as just a fan. But honestly, I end up picking it apart, and it's just more work than anything.
Well, just for my own self here, I will say that, as Jay was sending me all of the Infinite Design tracks over the years, I'd listen to them like on the business front of things. I'd be like, okay, it sounds okay, or we need to fix this part. But also because I'm not the producer, I am able to just sit back and listen to it and say, fuck, this slaps. Like, good job, man. Way to go. And,
yeah.
But
when you did something right.
Yeah. Like I would be so like, I would just be grinning ear to ear, walking around just so happy because the mixes sounded good. And, I could finally report back to Jay, like, hey man, fucking killer job. Move on to the next thing. Like, don't overdo it here. But, yeah. Also, though, after about 4-6 months, whatever, I'm kind of done with it. I like put it back on the shelf. But I think that's like any CD, any album. You listen to it for so much. I could burn out an album in a week. Like 1 week, I could be like sick of an album because it's all I might listen to. So I think that's also kind of fairly normal. But as an artist, I'm kind of like, next, I want to do new music again. So
yeah,
I just had to know because you have a huge body of work. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do occasionally. It's funny because Zero System is one of those, or Vanisher, both of those bands. That was a period in life where I was just having fun. I wasn't pouring too much despair into the lyrics and stuff. When I listen to Glass Casket, if I'm being totally honest, it's pretty difficult, the first two albums.
Yeah.
Because, it just brings up suicide and drug abuse and really a hard time in life. Like the second Glass Casket album, I put a suicide note into the album, and our producer, Jamie King, and the guys in the band basically told me we're not putting that out because I was kind of serious. I was like, wrote a suicide note. I spoke it out on the album and kind of called it a day. And the producer was just like, no. And the guys in the band were like, no, we're not doing that. But that was how dark I felt during that second album. And I'm just thankful things turned out the way they did.
Me too.
They didn't let me do that.
Yeah, for sure, man. So Cannibal 2014, and then I know we talked a little bit about Columns, and that's kind of where I had Columns come in because that Please Explode says 2014. I just listened to this recently too. To me, it has like some Nasum Converge vibes, very raw. You labeled it Southern Grindcore, which I think is a good label for it because it has a little bit of a stonerish kind of vibe in there.
We're
very metal vibes, fucking awesome riffs. And lots of songs on it, but very short songs, almost in the grindcore, aspect. So Columns 2014, was that kind of the last thing you did with Columns then too, or?
Yeah. So I think I said earlier, our guitar player that put that album out with us, the not Please Explode, but I'm sorry. Yeah, that is Please Explode. So the guitarist on Please Explode moved kind of far away, and we kind of toyed with finding a new guitar player and keeping it going. We actually had the first guitar player of Holyroller in Columns for about 6 weeks. and because he was been a friend of mine for a long time, and it just didn't work out. And shortly after that, I think our bass player had his first child, and then shortly after that, I think they had their second child. So it was basically just no time for it at the moment.
Yeah.
I'd fucking love to play with those guys again. We still keep in touch, and everybody's friends, and we have a good relationship. But they're about an hour and a half from where I live, so it's just kind of getting hard to make it work. And I think ultimately we were having trouble finding a guitar player that fit the band. But
personalities, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was basically the drummer and bass player and myself for so long that the drummer wrote and bass player wrote a lot of the guitar riffs. And so it was basically a three-piece. We were having trouble finding the just right guitarist for the fit. But like I said, if they get time in the future, shit, I'd love to put out another album with those guys.
Oh yeah, it was cool shit, man. I liked it. What happened with Wretched? Just kind of a thing that didn't fit no more, or?
Yeah, that was Wretched was so got into the band, immediately started touring right away. I toured more with Wretched than any other project I've been in.
Okay.
And we did it all in a short period of time. From I think I joined them unofficially in 2010. And from 2010 to 2014 and 15 was just lots of touring. And it was really fun. Had a good time. They're really cool guys. I think ultimately at the end of 2014, we had just done the biggest tour we'd ever done, the Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem Festival. And, it was awesome experience. The best touring experience I've ever had catering, showers.
Fucking rock star.
Nice.
Yeah, at least I felt like I could do this forever,
Hell yeah.
Touring outside of that world is a lot harder and expensive, and basically the only way that I was able to do all that touring was depending on my then girlfriend, who is now my wife. But we just didn't make ends meet, and I think towards the end we had a little difference in opinion of direction of the music. It's not 100% like a big deal, but recording this last record, we started to record after Cannibal. A couple years later, we started to record again, and to be honest, I just don't feel like we had the spark there. I think I was also getting more and more into stoner rock and rock and roll, and doom. I started a band called The Swamp. I can't remember if it was before Wretched or during Wretched, but basically started a band trying to be like Clutch or The Sword.
Okay.
And I think, honestly, the whole time I was touring with them, I was just blasting The Sword, stoner rock, and I was getting less and less into extreme metal.
Yep.
I think that's basically what happened. We gave it our best shot, and in my opinion, I don't think I personally had a lot more to give to the project, but the guys are all awesome. I miss them. I'm glad they're doing it again now without me, with the old vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
They're all talented guys, and they deserve to do it. I think they were just kind of waiting for the right time to do it, and I think I was just more interested in starting Holyroller up, honestly.
Okay, cool. So then after Columns, and then like the Cannibal Wretched era or whatever, that's when you were jamming in the Swamp for a while, right? Were you playing? Were you playing guitar in this now?
I was writing riffs, but I was just singing for the band at that point.
Okay. Now, is the Swamp, is that something that turned into Holyroller? Because when I'm in the metal archives, that's kind of where I found a lot of this information. It goes from Columns 2014, and then that was kind of some of the last stuff. So I'm assuming they didn't have like the Swamp stuff in there. And now I know that you're in Holyroller, and we'll talk about that as well. But I'm assuming that's kind of where the Swamp stuff came in, and then the progression into Holyroller. Is that how that worked?
Kind of. So the Swamp, I feel like, was like my first attempt at trying to start a band like that. And it was with a bunch of my friends from around my local town. And, we had a lot of fun doing it. It was an experiment. None of us had ever been in anything but metal bands. So we gave it a shot, and it just didn't work out. It was, I think, the wrong guys at that point in time. And out of that is where Holyroller came from. Basically, when that band was kind of dissipating, I bumped into the drummer of Holyroller, Jay Ingersoll, and we were both just saying, man, we're at Carolina Rebellion, and we were both watching Red Fang, I think, at the time. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to go see Queens of the Stone Age. And I was like, I am too. So
yes.
Kind of born out of that Carolina Rebellion in 2000. I think it was, I can't remember. 2018.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that's about right.
Yeah,
because
that
we
makes
didn't
sense.
really form. Like, me and Jay, the drummer, started playing shortly after that. But it was about a year or so before we actually got like the rest of the guys, the bass player and guitar player in the band.
Okay, so let's move into Holyroller, and I'm gonna break some honesty on you here. I hear stoner doom rock, not really my thing, dude. Like, that's just not. I'm just a death metal guy. I don't know why. I'm just wired that way. But
hey, that's cool, man.
But I give everything a fair shot. It's not that I don't like it. It's just sometimes when I hear doom or stoner metal or whatever, I'm just like, oh, fucking snooze fest, bro. Here we go. Like, that's just me, right? But I want to caveat this. I've heard some different doom and stoner bands on the show. We play other people's music sometimes on our episodes too. And then I get into your Holyroller project, and I was scared because I was like, man, I know Adam, and I know what he's done. And he's had some of those albums that really held close to my heart. So what are we getting in here? What are we getting into here, bro? But, preparing for the show, I listened to it, and I was like, God damn, dude, this is really fucking good. And
Thanks, man.
You're doing the clean vocals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like...
we have another guy also singing too. But...
Okay, yeah. Like some harmonies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is really fucking good. I can jam this. And Nick's the doom stoner metal rock and roll guy on our show, so it kind of gives us a good, balance. And as soon as I heard this, I was like, dude, you got to fucking listen to this. And he's like, well, I've already listened to 32 of this dude's records, so how much more shit you want me
I'll jump in real quick, Adam. I got to say, I'm in your corner. I love the doom.
Man.
I love the doom and the indie rock and the stoner metal, if you will. Caius, Queens of the Stone Age, you mentioned. Any of that Arizona desert metal, I'm for that life. And I think we're slowly winning Jason over. Like, we've had some.
It's a band by band thing. Honestly, I was the same way for a long time. Like, was not super stoked on anything that wasn't extreme or emotional rock. Like, I couldn't get into it. It was too like fuzzy and laid back and stuff like that. But there's certain bands that just do it so well. I mean, Clutch is one of those bands.
Sure.
I don't know if I'd call them stoner rock bands, but they epitomize rock and roll to me.
So, I hate using that term. I don't even know if it's an appropriate term or not, like stoner metal or stoner rock. But have you a better label for this genre? Like, is there something else that you call it? What would you call Holyroller is another way of phrasing that question.
I tell people more recently, our last two albums, I would say, are just pretty much pure stoner rock. They're like kind of upbeat, traditional rock and roll meets Sabbathy riffs, you know.
Yeah.
But I think our newer record is a little sludgier, but still has the catchy. It's not as slow as, you know, Crowbar or Thou or bands like that. But I think our newer album, I keep telling people it's just like doom rock.
Okay.
Because it's a little slower than the last two albums, but it's still rock and roll at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. I appreciated it. And Jay, he knows my tastes as well as I know his. And we go back 20 or more years now. I think coming up on 25 or fuck, I forget now. Anyway, so we know each other's tastes very well. And when he says to me, like, Mod, you're going to love this, I know he's right. And I still don't always follow up, but for the show, I absolutely had to follow up, and I was like, "Yeah, he's got my number. This is fucking good." So, Holyroller, I'm a big fan immediately. Follow you guys on the socials and stuff. So,
yeah, I liked it a lot, and for me to hear you do those clean vocals and know your whole vocal range, I was like, "This is cool. This is something new," and I kind of understand why you stepped into that world, just to be new and creative, and then kind of show how you can kind of take your vocals and make them progress and move them on to the next level. And you're playing guitar too, so that's kind of cool.
That was something I was really, really proud of. Actually, both of those things I'm very proud of. I'm not a great guitar player. I'm not a great singer. But I want, if anybody's paying attention, like, you don't have to just do what you've always done. And I knew from the get-go, because with the Swamp, I ran into this too. A lot of people did not like it. And especially, like you said, they were like, dude, they had so much respect for things I'd done in the past. And, but they just weren't into it. And it kind of ruins the whole experience for them, I guess. And I understand that. But at the end of the day, I've always done music for myself. I want other people to get something out of it, and it really makes me feel great when, like you told me earlier, that it had a big impact on you. Like, that really makes my fucking day. But at the end of the day, at least now, the music I'm making is just for me, and if people enjoy it, that's fucking awesome. But you can't win everybody over.
Well, do you think the Swamp had some trouble getting off the ground because there was such an expectation of you to do extreme metal, and you were kind of coming out of left field with this project that people didn't understand, and maybe that you needed to find another fan base, you needed to move on in a way, and let a project grow over time, where the Swamp just wouldn't get a lift off because of the expectations that were on you? Like, is that a fair assessment? Maybe.
True. Yeah, I'm really not sure. I know, like, on social media, if I posted about the Swamp, I would get a lot of comments that just said, "What about Glass Casket?" When is
It wasn't me, dude. It wasn't me.
And honestly,
it's Jay's burner accounts.
And that was just me, like 32 burner accounts on there, bro.
No, it's honestly, I understand, because, like, there's bands that I love that just stopped, and I hear their new bands and they're nothing like their old band. And it's disappointing, but ultimately you can't please everybody. And if you're having fun doing the music, you can never go wrong. Like, you'll never get to the end of the day and be like, shit, I should have done it differently or whatever,
Right. And I'll just say, though, I listened to all of it. You know what I mean? I was apprehensive at first, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to this new stuff coming out, because I'll be listening to it, man. So
thanks, man. We definitely integrated some heavy, like, first two albums are heavy rock, but this album has a couple songs that are they're gonna make you bang your head, and they're like
sweet,
catchy, heavy, groovy ass riffs and stuff.
Nice. All right, man. So I got some other questions for you. We kind of went through. Oh wait, sure. I'm sorry. Fuck, dude, you have so much stuff. Let's talk about a band
called Nisus as well.
Okay. Yep.
That was very short-lived with a buddy of mine, producer from around town. But he went on to.
Was that Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's the one that recorded the vocals for you when you did our album. Or you did the song for us,
the track.
Yeah.
That's right. That would have been around the same time that I was in the band with him.
Yep.
But they went on to form a band called Extinction Level Event, which you may have heard of.
Yeah.
They're all bass, Meshuggah kind of style band.
Okay. There you go, Nick. All bass.
But it's all bass. There's no guitars in it.
I'm gonna be such a hater because I'm like, you better be fucking good. I'm a bassist, so I listen to all the bassists and I judge their work. So I look down my nose.
Dude, they have this one music video. I can't remember what it's called.
I love it.
It's so good. Check it out when you get a chance because it's actually hilarious. The music video is hilarious.
Hell yeah, we will. Let's talk about this new Glass Casket before I ask you the questions of the actual interview.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to keep you all day either, dude. We'll wind down here pretty soon. I told you I only keep you an hour and a half or whatever. So I don't. Cool. I know you're busy and shit. So, but yeah, can we talk a little bit about the new Glass Casket, 2023? Of course, as soon as it fucking came out, I wouldn't even listen to the single because I had to take it all in. Obviously, it's only 4 songs, right? But I was just like,
4 great fucking songs.
Yeah, and man, it was so fucking good, dude. Like, and then Jamie's production compared to like the older Glass Casket. Not that stuff was bad, but like what he's doing now, so crisp, so clean, dude. It's a fucking phenomenal EP. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, please, man.
Yeah, that was so Glass Casket's been one of those things. When we stopped, it was bizarre to me, honestly, because years and years later, I'd be playing with Wretched or Zero System or whoever, and people would come up and be like, "Dude, this band's awesome, but when is Glass Casket gonna do something again?"
Not me.
And
32 burner accounts.
No, it's cool, man. Honestly, I talked to so many people about it, and I was out there, and Dusty and Blake were out there, so we were the people that were just there, in the room, and it kind of got on my nerves after a while because I really wanted to continue the band, and the guys in BT Band were just, too busy, and they had mentioned that they wanted to continue the band too, but it just became one of those things where it's like, hey, you guys want to get going, and just never would happen for a long time. And I kind of, around the time Holyroller started playing, is about the time that I was like, I don't think that's ever going to happen with Glass Casket. So I kind of wrote it off in my head. And, me and the guys in BT Bam had a lot of space and distance. So we just weren't as close as we were. And, I was happy. I'd made peace with it. I was like, all right, that chapter's over. Really enjoying writing songs and, challenging myself, something I haven't done in music in a long time. So it was a nice change of pace, but just kind of out of the blue, Dusty and Blake, they had sent me 1 or 2 demos over the years and saying, hey, we got this demo, and then nothing ever came of it. And then just out of the blue, Dusty and Blake are like, hey, we're going to book some time with Jamie in like 3 or 4 months. You want to record these songs?
Yeah, that's way bigger step than a fucking demo.
Yeah, it was like, it went from where I'm waiting for them to kind of tell me they want to do it or not do it, and
it's done.
I kind of give up. And yeah, I mean, we were still friends. Me and Dusty still communicated. We're still come from the same town and have all the same best friends growing up and all that kind of stuff. So, we're still buddies, but I just kind of say, all right, they got a career. I'm not going to bother them. And, I'm not super interested in making metal anymore. So when they hit me up, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, like I wasn't 100% excited about it when they first hit me up because I was just in a different mind frame.
Sure.
And, I'd kind of, like I said, listening to those old Glass Casket albums just brings up lots of really dark memories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of took me a second to be like, yeah. I don't know. I was nervous about it. Because those 2 albums meant a lot to me and they meant a lot to other people. And I really didn't want to go into it with taking it for granted or taking it lightly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So was it a challenge this time around to come up with that lyrical content as you compare it to those first two albums?
Sorry, my phone's dying.
Well, that's all right. Where'd I leave that charger? Pick out that shirt. Is that?
You guys know Bass?
Nope. I'm gonna have to now. Now I have to. Now I'm on the spot.
They're badass. It's kind of like spacey rock. But yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, getting back into that, the lyrics for Glass Casket was difficult, man. I actually talked to a bunch of my friends about how, I've been on some good antidepressants and a mood stabilizer for a few years, and I've been off of Xanax for 5 or 6 years, and so I'm in a much better place mentally, and don't have nearly the problems with depression and stuff I used to have. So it was one of those things that I was nervous about doing because I didn't want to be ingenuine or misleading or anything.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I don't know, after talking to a buddy of mine, Josh, kind of made me realize, like, if people need it, there's nothing wrong with expressing what you've gone through, and at the end of the day, the album is a much more positive lyrical force than the last two.
Okay.
There's still a lot of dark in it, but a lot of the messages are more persevere,
overcome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that kind of goes to Jay's point earlier. He mentioned maturation, and we're older now, and you still can sing about dark subject matter, but you kind of want to sing at, from the point of view of, like, I've survived and I'm not going back to a dark place. I'm not in a dark place, but I still feel like you can sing about the subjects. I wouldn't want to be disingenuous in lyrical content where it's like I'm feigning all the suffering. It's kind of like, I've been through the suffering, and we can glean the subject, but we're also on the other side of it. But it's also dark music. You can't just sit there and write about sunshine and rainbows to Glass Casket music, man. Right, it's not gonna wash. So I think it's doable, but you have to take it from another standpoint and, like, look at it from another angle, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I definitely try to do on this one. Because I really, on the first two, I wasn't thinking about other people. I was so self-centered and in my own dark hole that I just wanted people to know how bad it hurt and how bad I felt. But with this album, I thought more about other people than I ever have before when writing lyrics. Because I've met people out there that are like, dude, I was going to kill myself, and I heard this album and it changed me. And I don't know, that just makes me feel like I can't. Like, it would just be just so wrong to pretend that I'm still in that place. But I don't know. The pain is still there. It's just, I'm in better control of it, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm with you.
And you work through some of it, and yeah, I get that. I'm only just gonna have a couple more questions for you, bro, because like I said, I don't want to keep you all day. I could talk to you all day because usually we don't have such a resume to go through, so we have all these other questions we usually ask, but that I'm curious to know. But a few things I am kind of curious to know before we get you off here. So you did some Battlecross live. Battlecross we're from Michigan, right? So Battlecross, we've even played some shows with them and stuff. So I seen that was kind of on your resume as well. So was that just something that the singer couldn't make and you filled in on, like, a tour, or?
Yeah. So Wretched had done some tours with them before, and they were kick-ass guys, and we actually became good friends with their manager, Velda. And even discussed trying to maybe see if she would manage us. And that never really panned out. But I remember after we had done a few tours, I kept in touch with her, and she just asked if I wouldn't mind filling in, because I think their singer Gumby had an issue with his kid, where he had to be around this time frame or whatever. But yeah, those guys were badass, and that was a fun tour. I think they just recently broke up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've been kind of on hiatus for a while, but now I've kind of seen some activity in their camp, so I don't know if it's something that they're going to get back at. Like I said, they're fellow Michigan dudes, and I know the other guitar players were doing some other projects too, and eventually I'm sure we'll talk to them too, because a lot of our content is really Michigan scene based right now, at least, you know. So you're one of the first kind of out of towner guys that we, have talked to, so we appreciate that. But we're building and expanding. We haven't even been doing this a year yet, but like we're starting to get more of a following, and people are really starting to enjoy the podcast. So we're starting to reach out to other people to try to, put a highlight on them and people we've been inspired by as well. So I'm sure we'll talk to those guys sooner than later, because they've been a staple along the Michigan metal scene for a long time. What about the Fallujah? The same kind of deal or what?
Yeah, so real quick before you answer on the Fallujah, I fucking love that band, and I want you to tell me how it was working with Scott.
I've never worked with Fallujah.
Oh, really? So
we were misled. We were lied to.
Yeah,
God damn it.
It says it on your resume that you didn't make, so I guess.
What does it say that I filled in for him?
Yeah, it just says Fallujah, and then it says in parentheses live. So I guess don't read it. Believe everything you read on the internet.
Somebody was mistaken.
No, they're badass though. I think they're kick-ass bands.
What about Vehemence?
Vehemence?
Oh yeah.
Vehemence.
Oh yeah. So that's I skipped totally over that. So basically, after the second Glass Casket album came out, I had started going to community college for a year. And I was miserable. I was just not doing well. And I got a telephone call out of the fucking blue from the bassist of Vehemence, who I'd never met. They're from Phoenix. So they were like other end of the country. And, I was like 20. And I had one of those shitty Nokia block phones, I think. No internet access, no email. I didn't have a MySpace. I didn't have a Facebook or anything. And this guy just calls me. He calls me up out of nowhere. I have no idea how I got my phone number. And he's like, "Hey, this is Mark from Vehemence." And I had been a big fan of theirs for several years. Like, I had both of the albums they had out. And I was a big fan. And they just called me out of the fucking blue. It was like, "Hey, do you want to fill in for this tour for us?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." So I dropped out of college to do one like 35-day tour.
Okay. Hell yeah.
And did that tour with them. It was an eye-opening experience because I was just a little kid, and they were all adult men touring death metal bands.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
It was an eye-opening experience. I came into it thinking like, yeah, I got cred, I've been in this metal band, and I get down there and I start the tour with them, and all their fans are like the old school, like elitist death metal type dudes that absolutely hate hardcore or anything scene related. And God, I got ripped apart. People were just telling me how bad I sucked because I came from a hardcore band.
Oh God. Good old elitists. Gotta love them.
That was a really eye-opening experience for me as a young person.
Well, that's cool, man. I really enjoyed those guys, and I thought it was interesting that because it was even like announced like on Blabbermouth that you were about to go sing with them or whatever, and I wasn't sure exactly what that was. Demos?
Yeah, we did a couple demos. I might have them on CD somewhere.
Well, that's cool though. I enjoyed those guys. I always have.
Yeah, they were really cool. Bjorn, their guitar player, still. I remember that last Wretched tour I was talking about earlier. The big Rockstar Mayhem Festival. Bjorn came out to the Phoenix date, and I hadn't seen him in like 10 years or whatever. Still just as cool as he ever was.
Nice. Well, I got 2 more questions for you, man. Like I said, I could talk to you all day. I have a whole lot of questions, but we had a lot to get through, and maybe we'll have you back on the show again if you're interested in doing that, man. Especially when you got some new music to share with us, and we could talk more about that. But I got 2 questions left for you. One of them is, tell me a little bit about Jamie King, because he seems like a super cool dude, and he's that definitely dude I'd love to chat with because I'm on the production side of things. Like I said, he mastered some of our records, but he's done some of my favorite records, not just the Glass Casket stuff. I'm such a huge BT Bam fan as well, so it's like he's kind of like their extra member that's not there because he's been such a big part of their whole catalog. But tell me a little bit what it's like to work with Jamie King. I know you're actually in the studio with him right now, and that will lead into my second question after this one.
Okay, yeah. He is awesome, man. There's not a whole lot to say about Jamie except he's just super down to earth. He's just like you guys, like he's very easy to talk to, laid back kind of guy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, he seriously only wants the best for the bands that come into a studio. Like, I don't know how much I can divulge about all this, but he's a type of guy that will get it done, and he's not gonna haggle with you over pennies and stuff. Like, he just gets it done as quick as possible, and he's always been really supportive. He wishes me happy birthday. He's one of those guys that goes on Facebook every day and wishes everybody happy birthday that has a birthday that day.
That's commendable because that's a hard job to keep up.
Especially him.
It's just like,
all the people he knows. Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, no, he's real down to earth. I think the first time I met him was when Narayan recorded when I was like 15. And I'll be going in to record vocals with him on Monday. So it's been a long relationship, but yeah, he's an awesome guy and just super talented. I've never met a producer that is as fast and accurate as he is.
Yeah, I've actually heard him on like a production podcast, and I was just like floored with some of the stuff he was saying because it just seems like he's really about his business and about his craft. So
he is.
All right. Well, like I said, we could talk about a lot more, but I just got one final question for you, dude, and I'll let you go and enjoy your day. You want to talk a little bit about this new record with us, just to kind of put it out there to the world and tell us kind of what's going on with this new Holyroller record? I know you're in the studio. Obviously, you've mentioned that, but I know that's what's going on with you from following you. Want to tell us a little bit about how it's coming along, when we can expect it, and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's actually going along great. We were really active for a few years. We put two albums out, and trying to get out there as much as we could. And we kind of made the decision on this album to just stop playing shows for a while and just 100% focus on the album. So I think it's almost been a year. I think then we just called it a day on playing shows and have just been writing. And it's going really well. Like, honestly, I feel like the first record with the bands that I am 100% like confident in the vocals. We've never had a problem writing songs. Like, I've probably got 300 or 400, Holyroller demos ready to go. But we're just trying to fine tune what we want to put out there, and we've got about 8 songs right now recorded. We're talking to a couple small indie labels. So we really don't have a definitive plan on release date or anything yet, but we should have it finished hopefully in, I'd say, a month or 2 at the most.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, yeah, we're just looking to get out there and play as much as possible. If anybody's interested in having a fuzzy, doomy stoner rock bands come open the show, we're more than happy to do it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time today, man. I would love to have you on the show again, like I said, if you're interested, because I'd love to get down into the nitty-gritty that we went over your resume. You are hired for the job, just to let you know, because you have an impressive resume.
Thanks, man. Yeah, look out for new Glass Casket, man. We'll probably do we don't have anything ready to go or anything, but the guys are all stoked about it. So
okay, hell yeah.
Adam, I wanted to say that I sat and listened to the Glass Casket EP, the 2024 or the most recent one,
2023.
with my wife, who's not a metalhead, and we just sat there and we just poured a couple glasses of wine, and I just look over at her and I'd be like, "Are you getting this? Because this is fucking sick." So I wanted to tell you that we enjoyed it together. I wanted to touch back on something you said earlier, like not being the greatest vocalist or the greatest guitarist. I think in a world where the ceiling's just constantly elevated with musicianship everywhere, nobody should aspire to be the greatest at these things. I think if you're just coming from a place of being genuine and, like you said, playing for yourself and loving what you're doing, I think you're going to get the audience to really buy in better that way. So never compare yourself to anybody, right? Like just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Yeah.
I love your vocal diversity. And the last thing I wanted to speak on was to thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability and telling your story. I think that, that's going to really it resonates with me. And when we do this show, I always like to make it a quick little side point to, speak on mental health. So, in a positive light.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you being that vulnerable. That means a lot.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think if there's one thing that came out of, the losing my sister and that tragedy, was just meeting all these amazing people with similar stories that are still going and still fighting, But I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me and all the compliments. Like, you don't know, my head's getting big.
Yeah. No, man. Sometimes you need that ego boost, man. You've made an impact on me, and it's just cool to be able to talk to you. It's cool to have you on our record. Like I was cheesing about that, just to be happy, have the vocals on there. But now that we started this podcast, it's cool just to like sit down and get to know the dude behind all the music that we've appreciated over the years, and you continue to do that. And here at the Metal Maniacs, we really appreciate your time and energy and effort. And like I said, I'd love to have you on again. We can get down more in the nitty gritty about your writing process and a bunch of other questions that we usually ask, and would love to know more on the geeky musician side of it, us being musicians too. But like I said, man, thanks for your time. I fucking hope you enjoy your day. And it was really cool fucking chatting with you, dude. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Brother. Nice to meet you, man.
Peace, man. See ya.
See you guys.
Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.